I am Dr. Jitendra Ramteke, working as a professor in the subject of physics and having the teaching experience of near about 30 years at undergraduate level as well as at postgraduate level. In this video, we have to discuss one of the most important topic in the subject of physics and that is called as gravitation. This topic is included in most of the syllabus of 11th class and 12th class standard in CBSE as well as in the state board. This is also included in the syllabus of BSc course. This topic is also useful to those students who are preparing to their entrance examination like JEE, NEET and MHT-CET. And this topic is also useful to those students who are preparing their competitive examination like IAS in UPSC, the Maharashtra Public Service Commission MPSC and also in the competitive examination of other states. Dear friends, in this video we try to find out the answers of some questions like what is the gravitation, what are the Kepler's laws of planetary motion and what are the mathematical relations for the Kepler laws of planetary motion. Now we consider our first question, what is the gravity? The answer of this question is very simple. Gravity or gravitation is related to a force by virtue of which all the physical bodies in the universe are attracting to each other. In short, we say that gravitation is the force of attraction exist in between the bodies present in the heaven, or we called it as heavenly bodies. In the diagram we observe that the planet is revolving around the sun. Then our solar system is consist of different type of planets like Mercury. Then we are having Venus. The third one is our mother planet called as the Earth. Then our solar system is also consist of another planet like Jupiter and the Saturn. The Galileo Galilei was one of the most important astronomer of the 16th century. He made the fundamental contributions of the planetary science. He was discovered the most important instrument called as the telescope. This device, telescope, made the revolution in the planetary science, that is in the astronomy and the astrophysics. Galileo has another important contribution to this science. Galileo is the first physicist who recognized that all the bodies were fell on the earth with a constant acceleration. This is the concept was further developed by the scientist Newton. Now we consider the Kepler's laws of planetary motion. Johannes Kepler was a German astronomer of the 16th century, carried out a large analysis of mathematical information, that is the astronomical observations and the corresponding data. By using this data, he was established three basic laws for the motion of planet around the sun. But at that time Kepler just gives the laws of planetary motion, but he could not propose the theory to explain this motion of a planet around the sun. It means at this stage we must remember that the Kepler's only established the laws of planetary motion, but he could not propose the theories to explain the motion of the planet around the sun. These theories was developed later on by the scientists like Newton. Now we consider the Kepler's first law of planetary motion. This Kepler's first law of planetary motion is related to the shape of the orbit of a planet which is moving around the sun. Consider the planet, and this planet is revolving around the sun, and we observe that it is revolving around the sun in an elliptic orbit. Then there may be a possibility that this planet which is revolving around the sun may revolve in a circular orbit, and we are observing on to the slide. Thus the orbit of the planet may have the two shape, one is a circular and other is elliptic. Then this law gives the clear cut idea, a concept about the shape of the orbit of the planet which is revolving around the sun. Let us consider the statement of Kepler's first law of planetary motion. The Kepler's first law of planetary motion states that every planet revolves in an elliptic orbit around the sun situated at one of the focus of the ellipse. I repeat the statement. The Kepler's first law of planetary motion states that every planet revolves in an elliptic orbit around the sun situated at one of the focus of the ellipse. It means according to the Kepler's law of planetary motion, the planets are revolving in an elliptic orbit, and thus the Kepler's law gives the correct statement. The Kepler's law gives the idea, concept about the shape of the orbit. In our solar system, we are having near about 8 planets like Mercury, then Venus, then the Earth, Mars, then the Jupiter, Saturn, the Neptune, and the last one is Pluto. According to the Kepler's law of planetary motion, or we said the Kepler's first law of planetary motion, all these planets from Mercury to Pluto, all these planets are revolving around the sun in an elliptic orbit. The Kepler's first law of planetary motion now we try to explain by using the single planet. In the diagram we are observing the sun, then we are having the planet at a certain distance, and this planet start revolving around the sun in an elliptic orbit. Then we say that the Kepler's first law of a planetary motion, that every planet revolves in an elliptic orbit around the sun situated at one of the focus of the ellipse. Now we are observing all the planets with their elliptic orbit like Earth, Venus, Mars, Uranus, Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury and Neptune. And in this diagram we observe that all these planets are revolving around the sun in an elliptic orbit. Now we consider the Kepler's second law of planetary motion. In this secondary law, that is Kepler's second law of planetary motion, is related to the speed of planet which is moving around the sun. The Kepler's second law of planetary motion states that the radius vector, that is a vector which is drawn from the sun to the planet, describes the equal area in equal interval of time. I repeat the statement of the Kepler's second law of planetary motion. The radius vector, it means the vector which we drawn from the sun to the position of the planet at that time, describe the equal area in equal interval of time. The Kepler's second law of planetary motion is also expressed in another form. The another statement of the Kepler's second law of planetary motion states that the aerial velocity of a planet is always remain constant. In the diagram, we observe that the sun is situated at a particular position. Then we are having the planet which is revolving in a circular orbit according to our Kepler's first law of planetary motion. Then we draw the vector from the sun to the position of the planet. This vector we called it as radius vector, or it is called as a positional vector. Now the planet is moving from position A to position B. Then the radius vector is also moves from position A to position B, and while moving the radius vector from position A to position B, the radius vector describe the area in the given time delta t. Let us we assume that the delta A is the area swept by the radius vector in time delta t. Delta A is area described by the radius vector in time delta t. Then the delta A by delta t, that is the rate of change of area described by the radius vector in time delta t, is called as aerial velocity. If we consider the second statement of the Kepler's second law of planetary motion, then it said that the aerial velocity that we just defined at this moment, the aerial velocity of the planet is always remain constant. It means that if we consider the mathematical equation, if we try to express this second law, Kepler's second law of planetary motion in mathematical equation, then the delta A by delta t, that is the aerial velocity of a planet moving around the sun, is always remains constant. Now again we comes to the diagram. Let us we consider the another diagram, that is the planet is supposed to be present at a position C. Then it moves from position C to D. Then again it describe the radius vector describe the area which is shown by the inclined green lines. Then according to the Kepler's second law of planetary motion, in this case, when the planet is moving from the position C to position D, the area described by the radius vector is exactly equal to the area described by the planet when it is moving from position A to B. Only then the aerial velocity of the planet when it is moved from A to B, and the aerial velocity of the planet when it is moving from position C to D is remains constant. Now we consider the motion of the planet around the sun, and we try to explain the Kepler's second law of planetary motion. Then here we said the planet is present at a position A, then the vector drawn from the sun to the A is called as a radius vector, and while moving from position A to B, it swept an area that is equal to delta A1 in time delta t. In this case, we assume that when the planet moves from position A to B, it covers the total distance of 100 kilometer. This is our assumption that when the planet is moving from position A to position B, it's traveled the distance of 100 kilometer. Now let us consider the same situation when the planet is supposed to be present at the position C. If this is moving from position C to D and travels exactly the same distance of 100 kilometer, then the area described by the radius vector when the planet is moving from C to D is delta A2, and we observe that delta A1 is not equal to delta A2. It means the aerial velocity of a planet moving from position A to B, traveling the distance 100 kilometer, this aerial velocity is not equal when the same planet is traveling from C to D in the 100 kilometer. It means according to our Kepler's second law of planetary motion, it states that the aerial velocity, or we said the area described by the radius vector must be equal in equal interval of time. Now we consider the motion of the planet around the sun, and we just learned that when the planet is at the position A, then it gives us the radius vector, and as the planet moves from position A to B, the radius vector describes the area of delta A1 in the given time interval delta t. But when the same planet is present at a position C and it has traveled the distance of only 100 kilometer, then the area described by the radius vector in this position is not equal to the area described by the radius vector it's moving from A to B. It means that in the second case, when the planet is moving from the position C, it must travel a larger distance in a given interval of time, so that the area described by the radius vector must be equal to the area described by the radius vector when it is moving from position A to position B. It means when the planet travel from the position A to B, it's travel the distance of 100 kilometer in the given interval of time. For example, let us consider it's a 1 day, that is 24 hours. Then when the planet is moving from position C to D, it always covers a larger distance in the same time of 24 hours. It means it must travel the 200 kilometer. Only then the area described by the radius vector in both the positions becomes equal. It means when the planet is away from the sun, it moves slowly, and when if the planet is very close to the sun, then it always moves fast. So this is our conclusion that we drawn on the basis of Kepler's second law of planetary motion. Now we consider the Kepler's third law of planetary motion, and then this third law of planetary motion establish the relationship between the distance of planet from the sun and the time taken by the planets to complete one revolution around the sun, that is the orbital period of a planet around the sun. The Kepler's third law of planetary motion states that the square of the period of revolution of the planet around the sun is directly proportional to the cube of semi-major axis of its elliptic orbit. In the diagram, we observe that the planet is revolving around the sun in elliptic orbit. Then that elliptic orbit will have the major axis and the minor axis. Then the center of the ellipse to the position of the planet on its end point, that is called as semi-major axis. Then we say that if we consider capital T be the period of revolution of the planet around the sun and R be the semi-major axis of the elliptic orbit, then the Kepler's third law of planetary motion can be expressed in mathematical equation, that is T square is proportional to the R cube. And if we have the mathematical arrangement, then the T square by R cube is always remains constant, and this is the mathematical relation. This is the mathematical equation for the Kepler's law of planetary motion. Thus, now we conclude all the three Kepler's laws of planetary motion. The first law of planetary motion states that every planet revolves in an elliptic orbit around the sun situated at one of the focus of the ellipse. The second law states that the radius vector, that is the vector drawn from the sun to the planet, describe equal area in equal interval of time. And when we move to the third law of Kepler's planetary, that is the Kepler's third law of planetary motion, it states that the square of the period of revolution of the planet around the sun is directly proportional to the cube of major axis. If you like this video, then subscribe our channel Physics for UG and PG.